Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and I'm here with two old friends, two crystal skulls, ancient crystal skulls. This one is called Synergy, and this one is called Shana Ra. We're here with the Skull Keepers, and we're going to be talking about a great event that's happening with 13 of these ancient skulls coming together in New York City on October 10th, the weekend of October 10th, 10-10-10, and it'll be a great festival of high energy and multi-dimensionality. But today I have with me some very interesting people who understand what these skulls are about and what they're here for. So let me introduce everybody. I have Kirby Seid, who is a crystal keeper. He's I guess a connoisseur of skulls, of crystal skulls particularly. Thanks for being here,
Thank
Kirby.
you, Alan. Good to be here.
And here to my right, I have Michele Nocerino, whose father was very instrumental in bringing back the understanding of what crystal skulls were all about. This was his skull that he gave to his daughter. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And I have here Sherry Whitfield, who is the caretaker of Synergy. Synergy, she'll tell the story of where Synergy comes from and what its presence is doing with us today. And next to Sherry is Aleta St, who's an intuitive, a clairvoyant, a healer. And I wanted her here just so we can get more of a psychic impression of what the energies of these skulls are all about. So let's just jump. Thanks. This is really exciting. First of all, as we were saying before the show, these skulls create an energy or a vortex. Now describe what you mean by that and what silicon itself is all about.
Well, one of the primary powers that the crystal skulls have is the fact that they're made from silicon dioxide crystal, natural quartz that's found in the earth. It's so powerful that, in a sense, we make our computer chips, memory devices. It stores information, it amplifies. We have communication devices made out of the same substance. Well, all those properties are in the crystal skulls themselves, and the ancients knew of these particular powers, so to speak, and they were able to access them through sets of rituals and intentions, as opposed to our technological rituals, shall we say.
So putting these crystals in the shape of a sphere amplifies the thoughts that were used to create this, and it's sort of like direct downloads into who we are. Would you say something like that, Sherry?
Crystal skulls do certain things pretty consistently. They focus energy, reflect it, amplify it, attune it, transform it, transmit it, and store. So I keep a little list like that, and I think about if it's really true they do that, what could you do with them as a tool of spiritual awareness? So you could say they're very powerful, or natives call them power objects, but to me, they're the most useful as a tool of personal spiritual awareness.
Well, how would you use it as a tool of, what would someone put their hands on it, or?
You don't have to touch them. They put out a field in a laboratory. The field that Synergy puts out is at times 10 or 12 miles one way. I would assume that it's the same with Shana Ra. They don't put the field out all the time, but when they're interacting with earth energies, it could go out much farther than that. Put them together and they amplify things.
But so as an intuitive, Aleta, what do you get when you put your hands on these skulls?
Well, each skull has a very different energy to it.
Yes.
But the most important thing is that it hits different centers within your physical body. And with everything that's going on with the Gulf oil spill, and it's almost like the thing that destroyed Atlantis at that time with so much negative energy happening, it's so important that these spiritual tools are used with spiritually oriented people so that we're focusing it internally inside our bodies and integrating the spiritual energy and what they can do so that we become tuning forks and we become pillars of light on the planet using this amazing resource to do that. So it's about cellular connection with this powerful energy. And that's how I see it, in terms of how I feel it inside my body and how I feel I could transfer it in my healing and with the people that I'm working with.
Well, these are, I mean, they do feel like they're Atlantean or something. I don't know what that actually feels like, but it seems like it's a coming together of a lot of Atlantean energy, and now we're in a situation on the planet that's very much close to where Atlantis was destroyed, so maybe they're coming back to kind of recapitulate those ideas so we don't have to recreate the same situation that happened with the fall of Atlantis. So when your father first discovered these crystal skulls, what was he getting? What was his idea?
Well, my father got his first visions of crystal skulls when he was like 7 or 9, I'm not sure. And the visions just came to him. And then over the years, he was in the service, and 3 or 4 skulls came to him, just with different situations.
Actual physically came to him.
Yes. My father's, he's a research, he researched crystal skulls. That was a big part of what he did, but he also was a parapsychologist, a healer, a psychic.
Well, yeah, your father, when I heard him, Nick Nocerino is Michelle's father, and when I heard him on the radio talk about crystal skulls for the first time, I was fascinated, and I always wanted to be near one, and when I put my hands on this one, Shana Ra, I can still feel like a subtle vibration in my body. But did he know how old these were? Is there a way to know actually the age of,
Well, there have been tests, scientific tests, looking at the surface structure of the quartz to see what type of tool marks there are to ascertain when these were made. Both, this skull, Shanara and Max, Joanne Park's ancient crystal skull, was tested as such, and they couldn't find any modern tool marks on it, although inconclusive what that means. They just couldn't disprove it. That's one of the ways, but because of the nature of artifacts, and it's difficult sometimes, there's so many artifacts that are recreated or passed down from civilization to civilization. This could be a 1,000-year-old copy of something 10,000 years old too.
Of course, there's no way to date stone. Right?
Exactly. The stone itself is at least 100 million years old in terms of the quartz itself.
Right. But the shape, it wasn't made by any modern tools that we know about.
Exactly. So how you tell is, or how Nick told was, he put the skull in front of a lot of people, independent of each other, and he saw, and he gave them instructions in terms of how to use it, and he sat there and he looked and saw what reactions and responses people had. If it seemed on a consistent level to touch someone's soul, to move them, and have impressions of all kinds of things outside their normal set of consciousness, he deemed it a power object, an object of power, in shamanically speaking. So that's basically how these are determined in that sense.
So what was your father's, getting back to your father, his vision in discovering these skulls and bringing them forward?
He like I said, skulls just came to him over the years, and his belief was that the 13 skulls coming together, it was maybe not so much about the 13 skulls. It's about the information that we can get from the skulls, and he felt that they could, with his readings and all his students. And by the way, the research he did with students, they never saw each other. It was very well set up to. They viewed the skulls, and they made notes, and then the next, the students were kept at another house somewhere, and the information became repetitive as far as what they were seeing and what they were
confirmed.
They confirmed, yes.
Well, there is a sort of gazing into the skull like a crystal ball and seeing what visions people get too. I mean, that's part of what people did.
And yes, and my father's. I just actually read something about his work. He didn't. He could be sitting here talking to us, and visions would come to him, or a scenario of what, of a skull or something that was going to be coming his way, and he couldn't explain why. But then within a couple of days, people would call him, or
because he was known as the guy that to get the crystal skulls, and really he did so much to bring this community of skulls together, and you. Thank you, Michelle. And you also say the skull is a being. I guess you feel that way too, because you're the and they talked to you and they told you to come here to the studio. Thank you. What else? What other kind? Well, where did you get this one from? And because it's a great story, if you can tell.
Synergy was given to me by a man I barely knew. I didn't want the skull. I wasn't interested in the skull. I told him no, thank you.
You didn't want to have anything to do with the skull.
Well, I didn't have anything against it, but I don't believe in wasting things, and I couldn't see what I would do with it. I was more interested in angels and lucid dreaming than I was in crystal skulls. And so when he was really insistent, I told him that I would have to go home and sleep on it and think about it. And I went home, and the way that I tricked myself into taking it, and I really believe I tricked myself, I really thought that it came to me because it knew that I would give it to whoever it needed to go to, because I didn't have an attachment to it. And so...
I'll take it.
At that time, she didn't
At
have
that
any.
I do know that at any time it could say that it wants to go with someone else, and
And you would do that?
Of course.
You would? I
It's
mean-
my job.
So this guy, where were you when this guy approached
I
you?
was in Tucson. I had 5 galleries, and I was buying for the stores, and it was one of those strange things where my schedule opened up, which was very unusual, and I just ran into him, and he started talking, and I saw that he had the skull, and I thought that he was selling it, and I thought that was gross. So I thought, why would somebody sell a sacred object? But it happens all the time.
Right. So
Long story short, I did take the skull thinking I'd have it for a very short time, thinking that it wouldn't disrupt my life too much, and went back to him and asked him where he got it, and he told me this story that I didn't believe.
yeah.
He said that he's part Chilean and part Swedish, and his mother's family lives in Chile, and they have some relatives down in Brazil. He would trek the Andes, and he said that he was somewhere near Bolivia and Peru. He's not totally sure where. He stayed overnight camping with a group of natives, and an old man gave him the skull with, again, he didn't know him.
An old man in the Andes,
Gave him the skull. The guy's grandson told him that the skull said he'd be coming, and that
Wow, that's a
this is the
story.
history of the skull. He also gave him a document at that time,
Wow.
which he kept. I don't have the document,
Right.
but it's still in Sweden.
But didn't you say there was something about the Pacific, South Pacific?
Yeah, he said that it had come across the Pacific in a reed canoe, stopped in the Hawaiian Islands, and then went into the northern Andes with a people called the people of the sky, the warriors of the clouds, who the Spanish called the Chachapoyu. But they don't exist anymore. But a lot of the natives in the area, the remnants of them, many of those people in Central America and the Yucatan had crystal skulls. And so people started literally coming just out of the woodwork saying, oh, well, the skull's awake, we need to sit with it. Native people. Still happens.
And so do you go down there and sit with people?
No,
and,
I can't take the skull. Like Shauna Ra can't go into the Yucatan because the government would like to own it.
Oh,
And
I see.
so
'Cause they're-
Synergy and Shauna Ra are two of a short list of skulls that several governments would like to confiscate.
Oh, real? And they're probably worth millions of dollars. Yeah, Aleta.
You know,
what-
I'm
what-
sorry,
oh,
Michelle. Well, they're calling. They call energetically to people to come that are on those vibrational rates, and that's why that's why I'm here. Otherwise, there'd be no reason.
Well, I really didn't believe that the story could be true until I was contacted by a tribe in the South Pacific who said, well, we sent this skull across the Pacific in a reed canoe.
They contacted
They
you?
contacted me.
How'd they even know?
Well, because the skull was carved originally as a twin, and they still have the twin, and the twin told them where I was.
The twin psychically told?
Told the shaman.
Really?
And they've contacted me many times and shown up in places that I've been. And
this tribe from the has contacted you and has shown up.
Right, and I said, well, certainly if the skull had been in the Hawaiian Islands, the kahunas would know that. And then I met some kahunas who said, oh yeah, the skull was in the Hawaiian Islands, and we have a cave here called the Cave of the Ancestors. That's a secret cave, and in it is the reed canoe that the skull came across the Pacific in.
But was it Lemurian originally? that you
That's
think
what the
it's
tribe says, yeah.
Lemurian? And I'm curious how these skulls do talk to you. Is it just, I mean,
I
how-
hear a voice. It sounds like it's coming from the skull.
Do you hear a
Yes.
voice too?
It's, I have to say that even though my father is the grandfather of this crystal skull researching, I had an aversion to the skulls as well. It wasn't that they were bad. It was just I was raising a family young and come through the house and he'd, what do you think of this skull? What do you think of that skull? And I mean, I don't know. So, and it's the energy, I think the world is shifting, everything is changing, and I believe, as my father also believed, he didn't believe that if you got these 13 skulls together, that there was gonna be peace, and they wouldn't, that wouldn't happen in and of itself, but it's the coming together of the energy and the people and the awareness, and that's what they're here to do. And it's the guardians' responsibilities to be here,
and to make this energy available.
to make this energy available. I guess what I was going to say is, as far as the money, there's not. This isn't about money. So,
Right.
when you say, would you sell this skull? That's not what it's about. It's much deeper than that, and frankly, nobody's going to get. We're not getting rich off of.
No.
But the skulls, you're saying, sort of have an intelligence that then directs its own movement because they're here to share this with the world.
I think there's several layers to this, and there's probably more that we don't understand. They are multidimensional objects.
Yeah.
There's the quartz itself. There's the potential of information having been downloaded in it. Most natives that I deal with across the world say that they hold the information, the records of 13 different solar systems, hence 13.
Wow.
And I think that they act as a focal point for higher being. And
So there is a higher beings
like a master or
that are connected. I mean, I feel something. I mean, I feel like a buzz. I'm getting a buzz from this.
Michele and I have facilitated a lot of individual private sessions with Shanara with people, and basically there's two types of responses. One, an engagement with the crystal skulls. One is one of healing, and the other one is one of a relationship like an oracle. So getting a sense of very specific and individual knowledge applied to the person that will help them heal, will help them move through life, this kind of thing.
Well, they sort of are creating a field effect. I mean,
Yes.
Very
I
much
mean,
so.
what I get is maybe these were like prototypes of creating human beings. So first they were made, the gods or the Anunnaki, whoever made crystal skulls, and then they formed human beings based on a kind of a blueprint design that these skulls had, and therefore all the knowledge was encoded from the skulls also into our skulls. I mean, that's,
I'm not sure about that.
I don't know, it's just an
But
idea.
what
I'm with
I mean,
Sherry
I
on
tend
that.
to
I'm
be
a
rather
little
direct.
All right, it's just
But
an
on the
idea.
other, but I do
Yeah.
think that they were created at a time when human form was more fluid than it is now, and if there's records in there, and I think there are, I've seen it, like what Kirby and Michele say, it's very consistent experiences over a wide range of cultures and people. That information is in there about our past. Now, you sit down with an astronomer that knows how to ask questions about the solar system. I don't know anything about it, but the skull does.
How does this, so
The information's in there. It's in that skull too.
Just like any computer, their computers have, quartz chips in them for running all kinds of things. My father also believed that they were, that they acted like computers, and this is many, many years before we had cell phones and the internet, and and all these things that are available to us today. And he felt that there was, with the visions and what people saw in the skulls, that they're here trying to almost make us aware so that we don't do the same
I
thing
agree.
we've done
Right.
you know, in the
That's
past.
the return of Atlantis, right? Because
And you know what's interesting? It goes beyond language. It's that telepathic vibrational connection, that kind of fractal thing that you can look at and then all of a sudden go into another dimension that's so important. Because it's a memory that we all have, and it awakens that memory. And I got the chills on that. Yeah, yeah.
Alan, a lot of shamanic practices with crystal skulls have, not only is it a connection to their ancestors with that particular lineage or tribe that's been downloaded through rituals, but it is also considered a connection to the ancient ones. The ancient ones are the ones, many names for them, but basically the ones who were said to have seeded the earth with human DNA.
well, that's sort of what I was getting at. There's a sort of prototype human
Connection,
being,
yeah.
Right.
and so if we tune into these, it'll give us some of this knowledge. I mean,
And modern shamans now, they use the crystal skulls as a activation and reflection device to their own brains.
Yeah.
Because really part of where our destiny, which is our future going, is the activation of different brain centers.
so how would I
This is a tool for
activate
that.
my brain? I mean, you say it's like a computer, but we have to turn on the right program to activate the connection, or is it just opening up psychically?
I would say part of it is opening up psychically, finding a portal to go through within the skull. Everybody that works with the skulls, it's different for everyone.
And each person's different. I
And
mean,
yes.
I get people to open to love, and that's the key. People talk about misusing the power of the skull, but from what and sure, anything's possible, but there's a certain level that you can't reach in the skull unless you're able to feel a certain vibration of love. And it's like that's their password, that's their protection, and the bad guys can't fake it. You have to have that in your heart. She talked about it going inside of yourself, and my work really revolves around raising one's own vibration. Synergy said to me, the earth does not need healing in the way that you humans understand. It's you humans that need healing.
Exactly.
And there
Right.
won't be peace on earth until there's peace inside of us.
Right. Yeah.
So, from my feeling right now, it's almost as if it depends on where you are in consciousness. Like if you wanted to go into the 10th, 11th, 12th chakra, you could tune in to the vibration of the skulls and help you access those portals, those dimensions, so that you could actually experience the higher dimensions and then bring them in.
Yeah.
If you're there, if you're not, if you're on your first, second, and third chakra, you can do that as well.
Right.
you know?
That's the most
Yeah.
prevalent way people misuse them is
Misuse
focusing
them.
on the lower. They can't really access them to misuse it on a global level, I don't think.
No.
Right.
On a personal level, we abuse things all the time.
Right.
And so focusing on the first, second, and third chakra, it's just going to harm you.
Right. But yeah, I agree. But what I'm getting now is a clarity. It's like I feel that these two skulls are emanating, and I feel in a way it's impacting our consciousnesses. I mean, our skulls themselves. There's a resonance between the human skull and these crystal skulls, and I feel a sense of awakening. I mean, a sense of clarity, and as if the air is more vibrant and the world is more three-dimensional. I'm just
But
getting that
you're
now.
also, don't you think the group of us is also creating more of that kind of
Yeah.
energy with
Absolutely.
the skull? And also, we've all done work. And I think that makes a big difference in terms of your experience of it.
Right. They aren't magic. They can't amplify what
Yes.
isn't there.
Right. Amplify is the word.
That's,
But they are amplifying what's
They
here.
are.
they are amplifying what's here, but as
We're
Sherry
talking
said,
about, your
yeah,
experience.
this experience here, they can amplify that. But the negativity,
The negativity they won't amplify, you're saying?
well, they will, but the people that you have here today are,
We're in harmony.
we're
Well,
in
yeah.
harmony, and we are about the love and the peace and the healing all the way around.
Yeah.
And you're the gatekeepers for, and that's why your mission is so special, because you're protecting where they're going to be used.
And I think the world is moving to a place where there's not going to be those negative energies.
Go away.
Don't you think?
Absolutely, the tipping point is
tipping-
coming.
That's
where-
the
where
tip,
the
yeah.
positive is going to become more positive, the negative is less negative.
Right.
We're a little bit more negative now, but we're coming to the tipping
A
point.
little boy, bit.
Then the positive is positive.
No, I-
that tipping point.
I think it's changing. Though.
I
The
think it is
positive
changing.
becoming Positive, it's an awareness, it's an awakening, and we're finally, I think, starting to listen. And those of us that are, here with the skulls, and the skulls, really choose us as the guardians. We don't choose them.
They really are living entities. I mean, crystal is in a way a living rock.
Consciousness, yes.
Because it holds consciousness, crystals. So.
It has the original template of what's considered in physics the prime radiant, which
Yeah.
is the all that is. So it brings us to that still point, that neutral point where everything is possible.
So in October, we're going to have 13 skulls together, and that
Or
will-
more.
or
Probably
There will
more.
probably be more than
Oh.
13.
Plus, we'll have contemporary skulls, and we'll build a field like New York City hasn't seen.
A field on 10, 10,
And
10.
we need that because
Yes.
of the situation going
Yeah.
on in New
Right.
York. That's
It's
But-
brilliant.
It's a reflection of coming together
Coming
as a
together.
consensus
Mm.
with our unique individual pieces.
It's amazing, especially on this alignment date of October 10th, 2010, the 10-10-10, with these skulls and all of us and probably a couple of hundred more gathering, we will create a vortex that will really lift the city and the planet, I think.
Protection.
Yes.
And more, and opening and
healing.
awakening.
Healing.
So what was the story of these skulls that your father coming together that he must have knew about?
It was his just a vision. It's like I said, my dad, a lot of things came to him and he didn't question it. It was if he questioned it, then
But what did come to him? What did he see?
It was he thought that there were 13 skulls, or possibly 13 skulls and one master skull.
Ah.
And
And what will happen with these?
it wasn't about it
'cause-
would be they carry information that we can hopefully not repeat the past.
Because I didn't like what Spielberg did with the search for the crystal skull. That was
Well,
a-
who did? One of his production assistants contacted me before it was in production. She says, "What do you think of this?" I said, "Wait a minute, is this spiritual information or is this entertainment?" "Oh, it's entertainment." So well, I don't have an opinion on it. It'll probably be a good movie.
It wasn't a good movie.
Well, I never saw it.
haven't
I
either.
just wasn't interested in it, and
Not in the commercial hype of.
from what I understand, it did what it did,
It
and
was okay. I mean, it brought awareness to the skulls.
Now, the thing that's interesting is that we were talking about the negativity and the positive, is that whenever you have a tremendous amount of light, it also brings up the dark.
very true.
So I think what's coming to the surface is all the darkness that we just never really addressed.
To be dealt with, yes.
The greed and, but the thing is that because the negativity is coming up and the greed and we're looking at it, the light is, now trying to balance it for sure. But I think that most probably that it's very important that you get this out more and bigger groups of people come together so that we are en masse.
That's going to happen
Yeah.
October 8th, 9th, and 10th in
I
New
am
York City.
so happy.
Actually, the website to look at is ARE NYC, or my website, newrealities.com. There's a big poster there. There's a big poster there about these skulls. Thank you for watching. This is Alan Steinfeld, and I hope you come this October 10th, October 8th, 9th, and 10th to meet my good friends Synergy and Shana Ra at a gathering that we're having in New York City. If you want more information about that, go to my website, newrealities.com. Go to the Edgar Cayce Center, NYC. All these websites, you'll find information about this event, and you'll be able to share in this experience of feeling the vibrations of these amazing beings. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and this is Alan Steinfeld, and email me also about if you want more information at newrealities@earthlink.net.